Welcome to the Glazier Nation podcast. My guest this week is Conley Oster, one of the co-founders for Raise Robotics. I discovered Raise Robotics when I made a video about a robot installing curtain wall in-beds using a PlayStation 5 controller. So with a little back and forth and begging, I got Conley to come on the podcast so I could ask him about that robot. We discussed how it works, why he came up with the idea, and the future for the glazing industry using robotics. I'm your host, John Spellman. I had a great time chatting with Conley, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. The Glazier Nation podcast, as always, is brought to you by Glazier Nation. You can check out all their offerings at glazernation.com. And this podcast is also sponsored by Glass Build. The previous podcast we did was with Andrew Herring, all about Glass Build. If you're on your way to Glass Build, be sure you check it out and listen to this.
Work in the glass or fenestration industry? Build your team, business, and livelihood by attending the biggest industry event of the year, Glass Build America. Join your peers, prospects, and competitors in Atlanta October 31st through November 2nd for the ultimate business building and networking event, Glass Build America. Learn more and register at glassbuild.com. That's glassbuild.com. Register for free using promo code POD.
Expecting in January, so do you know the gender, or did you not want to be told the gender?
We're having a boy.
Well, congratulations, man. I think it'd be super cool to have a daughter. I have two boys, and we're done with children. But having boys has been a blast, man. They're on the same baseball team right now. We were just talking. They did jiu-jitsu on Monday. They played flag football. Like it's fun. You do a bunch of guys, but it would be super fun if they had like a younger daughter. I think that'd be real fun.
Yeah, keep them in check at least. What's the age difference on your boys?
They're 20 months apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I told you we kind of waited a long time, and then as soon as we decided to have children, we were like, get them going, right? Not Irish twins, but I think you can call them Scottish twins if they're 2 years. I don't know. That's probably not appropriate to say anymore. I have no clue.
Ugh, Roman Catholic twins.
Doesn't matter. Boys are fun, man. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very excited.
We didn't have you on here to talk about my kids. That'd be ridiculous. We had you on here to talk about robots. So why are you making robots?
Short answer, I think, is there's a need for robots. I mean, you talk to enough contractors today, they'll all pretty much tell you the same thing. No shortage of work in the pipeline, but we can't find people to actually staff the projects. That's the situation I came from as well. So my background's in the crane and rigging industry, and as time went on, it just became increasingly more difficult to staff our projects. Became more difficult to estimate projects accurately and estimate projects confidently. That's ultimately what we're hoping to help with Raise Robotics is supplemental labor per se, by having an extra robot on the crew, almost acting as an additional person, but at the same time as a smart tool that allows you to not only deliver on your current projects, but also estimate your future projects more accurately, since there's less variability in the work output.
So I probably buried the lead a little. Raise Robotics is your company. You're a founder of Raise Robotics. We've kind of covered you're making robots, but what is Raise Robotics, kind of the 1,000-foot view?
Yeah, so 1,000-foot view, we're a company that's building robots for on-site construction. We want to focus specifically on high-risk tasks that people don't enjoy doing. That's kind of our entry point into the market. We want to do jobs people don't enjoy doing, so they can do things that they're better at. Keep the humans on the human-centric projects, and then put the robots in the robot-centric projects. So projects that are repetitive in nature, risky, or quality critical, those are kind of the scopes of work that we're focused on at Raise.
So we connected because I had done a clip about your machine. I had saw something about it. It was controlled by a PlayStation controller, and it was doing curtain wall embeds. Is the focus in the glazing industry, or is it a little broader than that?
Yeah, so focus is 100% on the glazing industry. We want to make sure that our customers are seeing real value before we start looking into additional applications in the future. Want to make sure that we see this one through. So right now we are focused on specifically the embed installations, and as far as our current capabilities, We're able to complete pre-job anchor channel inspections, quantify embed placements, make sure they're in the right spots. If they're not in the right spots, we can highlight it, take a picture, quantify it, allow you to get ahead of that rework before you actually get on site. Complete the embed installations to specification with the robot, and then also give you all of that data that we're gathering during the installation. An additional feature that we've developed recently is actually floor marking, so layout marking. We'll mark the mullion setbacks and center lines for your panel installation crews also once we wrap up with the bracket installations.
So someone that's maybe not caught up on a lot of what the robotics and AI can do, this is a machine on your job site on the floor slab that you're controlling, or is it controlling itself?
Yeah, so like you had mentioned, it does have the PlayStation controller that's still on the robot. That's used to drive the robot around, and then if there's any semi-autonomous tasks that you want to take on yourself, like embed cleaning or foam removal, those can be done just using the joysticks to control it. But as far as the installation process, that's an entirely autonomous process. So as soon as you have the robot in the right spot using the joystick controller, essentially press your trigger mechanism, it fires it, gets ready, starts installing that embed, and then when it's ready to move to the next one, just jockey it over to that next embed.
And the placement, the control, is this programmed by using shop drawings, architectural drawings? How does it learn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So something that's extremely important to us is we realized very early on that contractors will adopt innovation if it's easy to integrate. And when you talk about it from kind of the glazing installer's perspective, you're not really getting BIM models a lot of the time if you're an installer. You're getting a shop drawing with just your embed placements. So we use that same information that makes it out to the field, that same drawing that's sitting in your job box for 6 months. And from that, we have all the information we need, and we're able to fill in the gaps with algorithms, with AI, and then also some machine learning to train. So you upload the XY coordinates to your robot on site. You click go. Once it initializes to the total station, it goes to where it's supposed to be, in theory, per the plan. If it's not actually in the right spot, that's where the computer vision systems are able to take over. So it's able to then see and quantify the deviation from the planned conditions. And because slotted embeds do have some play, we're able to use our algorithms to quantify, hey, can we actually complete this installation still to specification, even though it is out of place? Or is this an uninstallable location that needs to be drilled out after the fact? So that's the kind of our secret sauce, how we're able to account for on-site variability.
And that's a software on the machine, on the robot.
Exactly.
Okay, and because anyone listening is probably, the field conditions are not exact per the shop drawings, but the robot can identify that and make an adjustment. If the adjustment's too large, I'm sure it just alerts the user somehow, yeah?
Exactly correct. So then it would just highlight that embed location. It'll tell you how far off it is, what rework needs to be done. And from there, you get a single point of truth that you can then go to the GC and say, hey, we don't need to call out another surveyor. This is what it is. Here's a picture of it. Here are the exact locations of it. What do you want us to do here?
Does it write the change order too?
Unfortunately not. Hopefully we can work on that.
All right. So you came from rigging and crane?
Exactly.
And then you started making a robot for glazing contractors. Someone told you you're crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what was the step from when someone told you you're crazy? Like what was that next step that kept you going?
Yeah, so I think before someone else told me I was crazy, I had to tell Gary he was crazy. So this wasn't all my idea. So coming from industry,
business partner, you all right?
Exactly, he's the other co-founder. So this all started through a LinkedIn message. That was it. And he had independently started working on a passion project, which was applying robots to volumetric housing installations. And because I had experience in crane and rigging, we started talking about why it wouldn't work. And looking at it from that perspective and not really being up to speed on how robots work and what they were currently capable of, I was definitely skeptic when we had first started it, and we ended up working together for almost a year before we started the company, just coming up with these simulations of applying a robot to a specific task and then pitching it to my customers at the time, seeing if they would bite on it. Once we got to facades, that's when we realized, hey, there's very low component variability, and this seems like it could really work. And the facade customers definitely doubled down on that and said, hey, if you could build it, we'll definitely put it on our projects. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of times where people said we were crazy, but I think it's just a little bit of a knowledge gap right now. I mean, technology's advanced so far in the last 5 years with machine learning, AI, computer vision. I mean, otherwise very mechanical systems like robots are now able to actually feel, perceive, and react to their environment the same way that a human would.
What was the biggest challenge along the way? I mean, you said you worked a year before kind of forming the company. Along the road, what was the biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so our whole mission is we want to get this into the field as quickly as possible. We want to make sure the end user is giving us their feedback as quickly as possible. And our approach has been very different from other construction robotics companies in that way, is that a lot of robotics companies, they'll hide their machines in the lab. They'll test in a lab for 8 years, 10 years at a time, and then they'll finally deploy and realize there's not a product market fit. So we kind of reinvented this and we've piecemealed it. So we've taken just a prototype, deployed that with the customer as quickly as possible, gathered that feedback, iterated, rebuilt, and then deployed again. Obviously, one of the biggest challenges there is that we're still a small company. We don't have infinite capital. We only had one robot for a very long time. So we need to do this in a way that makes logistical sense. So trying to find pilot projects that were close to our office that allowed us to get out to the field, test it, and kind of complete that feedback loop in a very compressed amount of time, but also in a cost-effective way. That was the most challenging part. I'd say challenging aspect for the first year and a half.
How did the pilot project go? How did the first one go?
I won't talk about it.
But when it was a good learning experience, I guess.
We got one bracket in on the first project, so it was a success. That was all that we were out there to see is, hey, is this even possible? Is this something that's feasible in the construction environment? At the time, that robot, the base of it, it was all 4x4 porch wood that we had ripped off one of my friend's patios. So we were actually building the robot on site. It was very steampunk looking. I'll send you a photo of it. But yeah, it ended up working. And that's, I mean, once the customers saw it, obviously they didn't love the looks of it, but it did what it was supposed to do at the end of the day.
It sounds like one of those robot arena battles.
Yes.
Have glued stuff together. How long ago was that?
That was in January of 2022. So,
okay.
And then the initial idea was October of 2021. That's right when we incorporated.
And how many robots do you have now?
We've just built out our third, and then we're going to be up to 6 here starting in January. So a small fleet of our new commercially viable robots.
And will you be at Glass Build next week?
We will be at Glass Build next week.
Will you have one of these there?
Unfortunately not. I'm hoping next Glass Build we'll have a couple of them with us.
Okay. Will you have like some software or visuals that people can check out? Okay.
Yep.
And the success rate, the first project was one anchor in. Now I'm assuming that's a much higher success rate.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're getting up to 25 uninterrupted. So that's completely autonomous. No need to touch it. The only times that we're having to interrupt is just to reload components on the base. But other than that, it's going off without a hitch right now.
So moving up to 6, I'm assuming that the demand is matching that. So your customers have been satisfied with this. You need more machines. Someone that, like me, I'm kind of ignorant to this stuff. Like what's the hurdle for the customer? Is it extremely cost prohibitive? Is it hard to use? Like what's the challenge for the glazing contractor?
a new piece of technology at the end of the day. I think that's the biggest challenge. I mean, we're able to do it faster, do it cheaper, and do it more precisely than traditional labor, but there's going to be some hiccups along the way. I mean, it's still a new piece of technology. There's going to be little bumps. But I would say that's the biggest hurdle right now, and those kinks will definitely work themselves out here in the next year.
How much are you able to train the customer with the machine?
Mm-hmm. So right now, we're offering it as a service where we come in, we provide the technician, and then we'll move to a customer handoff starting in Q3 of this coming year. So then we'll actually be training our customers on how to oversee and operate.
Yeah, that seems, if I was running a glass shop, that seems super attractive to have the technician, at least to learn the machine. And to your point, new technology, I think, will eventually reduce your cost, right? Like, it might have an upfront cost, but you look at the CNC machines that people use or the manipulators that people use, those aren't cheap, but they reduce your costs elsewhere, or they increase your quality elsewhere, which eventually reduces your cost in some way, shape, or form, making less callbacks, that kind of stuff. This machine you're working on, and you're aware of other, you mentioned other construction robotics, construction AI. How do you see the future of the fenestration industry integrating with this stuff?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you go into any glazer's manufacturing facility, there's a very solid chance they're already going to have a robot in the manufacturing facility. When you look at the Erdmann robots doing the sealants around the glass, I think that has already started, and it's just a matter of time. I really think it's going to be quicker than a lot of people will be forecasting. I'm saying in the next 10 years, most construction sites will have some sort of robot on the project, especially for glass and glazing. It's a very good application because it is so standardized, and I understand there's small deviations, but from company to company, there is a lot more consistency than in other trades, and that provides itself a lot of opportunity for robotics and automation in the future. So, I mean, I'm saying in the next 5 years, majority of glass installers are going to have some additional source of robotics or automation in their crews. You can call it the composite crew 2.0. Instead of having different trades, you're going to have tradesmen and robots moving forward.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with that. The speed at which things are happening in robotics and AI, and the stuff that, and maybe some of the AI stuff was around 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, I know it was, right? But it wasn't like common use like it is now, where a normal idiot like myself can use ChatGPT, Dolly, Midjourney, any of these things where you're telling a software or a machine to do something, and it does it quite flawlessly. So I don't see how it doesn't continue this way. I do think it's worth mentioning, though, that, like, I don't think that this stuff replaces humans. I think you led off with the why was that people weren't finding work. Or workers, I should say, installers, technicians, glazers, whatever you want to call them. And I concur with that. I mean, all of my customers in my routes, I mean, that's one of their number one complaints. People that I've had on this podcast, what's the biggest challenge to the glazing industry? A lot of them will answer finding skilled work. So it's not like we're getting the robots to replace people. We're getting the robots to fill those voids, right? And
yep.
I don't think it's replace humans. I think it's that humans that use this technology kind of replace humans that don't.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly what I think also. I would say COVID was kind of the forcing function that forced a lot of contractors to adopt innovation, new ways to do things. And looking 10 years, 15 years in the future, I think if you're not getting on this first jump of innovation and integrating it into your workflows, at that point, there's no point of integrating it because you're going to be out of business. There's a lot of small to mid-sized companies that are going to pass even large corporations because they are being more aggressive in their technology adoption. And it's allowing them to do more with less. And that's just going to be the trend for the next couple decades. I mean, it's the trend right now. Contractors being forced to do more with less. There's more demand, don't have enough people. At the end of the day, we're not here to take people's jobs. We're here to improve the livelihood, especially of the craft workers. I mean, it's not fair that you have to show up to work and be put on clip installs for 6 to 12 months at a time. I mean, that is back-breaking work. So just allowing them to stand up, have the robot do the hard work for them, and then reap the reward of it, there's really no downside to it.
At what point, though, do the robots get upset with doing the hard work and turn on us?
I don't know.
I'm saying that jokingly, but like as a guy who's making robots, like this has to wake you up every now and then at 3 a.m. and think about it, right?
Well, sometimes. It depends if I fall asleep with the news on or not.
All right. But your machines are not doing that, right? Your machines
No, our machines are not sentient beings yet.
Okay, so they're working off shop drawings, but they're also using the surrounding conditions to identify issues. How realistic is it, maybe it is now or in the near future, that the machine can be essentially connected with like, you know, the BIM model, right? That they can kind of coincide together, and as changes are made in the model, they can be transported to the machine. Like how reasonable is it that those two things kind of talk together?
1,000% reasonable. I think we took a much harder approach. That's actually, I would say, a little bit of a low-hanging fruit with the integration aspects. That's just
let me add a level to it then. Like, could you also load in costing and time factors that as these changes are made, we can look at the cost implication or the time implication, either from what the machine sees in the field or what we're changing on the BIM model?
100%. So that's something that we could do quite easily. So before a robot ever makes it out to site, typically it'll train for 2 weeks at a time, which is just the computer running through simulations, completing the installation cycles. And from there, we can actually estimate very accurately how long each installation is going to take. So in that same breath, if you were to make a small design change, that could just be in real time integrated into our simulation stack, and we can get a much more detailed, updated cycle time estimate.
I think that's huge. I think construction schedules lose tons of time waiting for these changes to be made because we're relying on not just one person, but maybe 2, 3, 4 people to move that information, and that real-time application seems pretty priceless. What if any current challenge for Raise Robotics do you face, and kind of how are you approaching that? Or maybe you're not. Maybe the demand is so high. Is there any reluctance? Like, what is the demand so high that you're not really selling it?
We can be very selective with our customers, which has been very helpful. So I right now, it doesn't make sense for everyone. I'll be very upfront with that. You do have to understand it is early technology. You will see benefits, but also there will be some hiccups along the way. So we've been very selective with our customers that we choose to deploy with because they have very good understanding, and we've aligned on expectations for what to expect in their projects when using the robots. I think current challenges, it's just limiting the number of inbound application requests. So in the future, we do see this as kind of a multi-trade robot that can be shared amongst other crews on the project for different scopes of work. It's able to switch between tools autonomously on the fly. That's what allows it to grab a component, then also torque it down with a separate torque wrench. But when people see the capabilities of it, they continue to ask, if it can do this, can it do that? And just trying to get those aligned in kind of our next tooling and next applications forecasted and sticking to that. I'd say that's the most challenging thing for us right now.
Successful project. Is there one that you've maybe recently completed that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think both of our previous projects with J.R. Butler. So we wrapped up Hall Park in Frisco, Texas, and then completed Star 5 in Frisco, Texas as well back in August. Both of those were great projects.
Glass build next week. People can find you. You're going to have a booth?
I will not have a booth. I'll be going to pretty much every company on the floor. I'll be wearing some obnoxious Raise Robotics gear. So look out for the buzz cut. and orange and blue polo, and I'll come find you and talk to you.
And if people want to get more information, what's the best way?
Yeah, either go to our LinkedIn, which is at Raise Robotics, or our website, raiserobotics.ai. If you want to schedule a demo, you can do it directly through our website. Reach out to me directly, or just call the number on our website also. That's my cell phone. So anyway, you can get in contact with me. I'd love to get robots on projects, so hit me up.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I don't see how you put the rabbit back in the box, or in the hat. It's probably the correct term there. Conley, greatly appreciate your time, man. Congratulations on Raise Robotics. Congratulations on your expected son in January. And yeah, man, have fun at Glass Build.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you there.
All right, take care.
See ya. Bye.